Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. A couple years ago, I was sitting in a church service after a friend of ours had just got done preaching, and at the end, he had led us through this activation encounter time with Jesus. And during that, like most of the times, I was just sobbing and crying the whole time. And Kelsey had told me about a conversation she had with Tyler after she saw that and saw me. Something along the lines of, I wonder when Dawn's gonna forgive herself, or I wonder when Dawn's gonna move on. Something along those lines. So when she told me that she had that conversation, she also gave me a word about being worthy, that I was worthy and not just that I am, but that I was. And it was a really big moment for me. It was kind of the first time that I heard that word. I had heard some other things leading up to it and, in different words or messages, but that word worthy, it was a turning point and it did something for me. That I got really aware that I had been standing in my own way for part of this. That I had this anchor of regret that I was just carrying around with me all the time. And every now and then I would drop the anchor and it would just dig in. And wherever I was at, that's where I would stop. That's where I would get stuck. That I would get focused on the things I wish I hadn't done, a memory I wish I could erase from my mind, the times I wish I had a redo and a do over, this replay track of regret that would go through my mind and it would leave me unable to move forward. Tonight is not about forgiveness, although that is a factor. Tonight, I want to talk about how we move beyond past regrets and how we live without regret moving forward. The starting point for me is Romans 8:28, and in the mirror it reads, "Meanwhile, we know that the love of God causes everything to mutually contribute to our advantage. His master plan is announced in our authentic identity." In the Passion it reads, "So we're convinced that every detail of our lives is continually woven together for good. For we are his lovers who have been called to fulfill his designed purpose." The starting point for me was understanding that the Father will take the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, all the parts of our lives, and he's going to weave them together in such a way that it's to our advantage, that it's to our benefit at the end of it. That everything's going to be put together in such a way that we're even more aware of our identity, how he created us, and how we're loved. Some have heard me say this line before from Leif Hetland that says, "We carry the most authority where the serpent bit us." And when I heard him say that, it also did a thing for me where I was like, yeah, I do. It's once I heard that I have authority where I used to struggle, and not just the pain has a purpose or all of those things, and that's true, but there was something about this line, "We have the most authority where the serpent bit us." Meaning our past, regardless of how scary or painful, are now ours. The purpose may be that we get to help somebody through a similar situation. It might be the fact that now I can recognize when I'm about to go off the rails and I don't. Or maybe I can notice something that I didn't notice and I get to have a course correction. It can be as simple as I still have breath in my lungs, and so there's still purpose of my life. I don't need to know what it is, but understanding that I've been through that and I'm still here right now proves all I need to say that my life still has purpose. Your life still has purpose. I also believe that it's impossible to return to square one. We can have this feeling when we fail at something that, like, all right, well, back to square one. Untrue. There's never going to be a square one after we've attempted movement. You can't ever go back to that place before you tried something, before you knew something, because even if it didn't go well, you now have experience, you know how you have knowledge, you have people and resources that you didn't have at the very beginning. You can never go back to square one. I don't believe we start anything over. I believe we drop an anchor sometimes, unintentionally, intentionally, and it makes us feel like we have to start over or that we have to and that we are, when in reality, it really just is picking up where we left off. 1 John 2:1 in the mirror. My darling little children, the reason I write these things to you is so that you will not believe a lie about yourselves. If anyone does believe a distorted image to be their reality, we have Jesus Christ who redefines our likeness face to face with the Father. He is our Parakletos, the one who endorses our true identity, being both the source and the reflection of the Father's image in us. The Passion. You are my dear children, and I write these things to you so that you won't sin. But if anyone does sin, we continually have a forgiving Redeemer who is face to face with the Father, Jesus Christ, the righteous one. John is sharing the Father's heart with us. It's as if he's saying, dear children, I wish you wouldn't forget who you are, but if you do, I'm still right here. Right? We learned a few weeks ago, sin, hamartia, to forget how we were formed, to be without form. So it's like he's saying, my darling kids, I wish you wouldn't forget how I formed you. But if you do, I forgive you. I wish you wouldn't, but if you do, I still love you. I wish you wouldn't, but if you do, you still have value and you're still worthy. I don't know your situation. I don't know your story. If you need to make an apology, make it. If you need to mend a fence, mend it. But I want you to hear me when I say it's okay to move on. It's okay to leave it in the past. That if I've lost a reputation, a house, a family, my money, whatever that is, it's still okay to move on. It's okay to leave past regrets in the past and move beyond those into a future. You're worthy of authentic love regardless of your past. You're capable and you are worthy. How do we move beyond regret? We give grace to our past selves. The memories that would pop up for me would flood me with regret, and they all involved a version of myself who did not know her worth. It was a version of myself that did not know how she was loved, what she was capable of. She did not understand her original design. She settled for imitations of love because she didn't understand the authentic part. She made mistakes because she didn't understand what she was worthy of, what she deserved, and so she settled. The old Dawn and the old you, past you, current you, wherever this regret starts, doesn't deserve hate. They deserve compassion and grace. I'm grateful for what I've walked through. Without it, I can't help the people the way I help them now. I can't love people like I love them now without walking through what I've walked through. And then where do we go from here and live without regret? You move beyond any current regret by understanding you aren't powerful enough to screw this thing up. Something that's meant for you is still going to be meant for you regardless. His perfect design for you is still his perfect design for you. You can't screw it up. Giving compassion to ourselves and understanding that the Father loved that version of us just as much as he loves the current version. We move beyond regret when we start exactly where we are and we create a new narrative. And how do we live without regret moving forward? We live without regret when we are intentional about writing a new story for our lives. By giving grace and compassion to our current selves, saying yes to breaking cycles and habits that led to previous regret, acknowledging things as they occur, saying sorry when I need to say sorry. Don't let things drive wedges in relationships unnecessarily. Say sorry when we need to say sorry, regardless of pride. We move forward. We learn what the Father has to say about us, and we come into complete agreement with that. We live without regret moving forward, never fully going back to where we were. Now, when there's a moment that I don't love about myself, wish I wouldn't have done that, I'm still so connected and so aware of my identity that it can't turn into regret. We can learn from it, and we should. But we don't live with regret moving forward because we know who we are. And the things that happen or are done or that we do that don't agree with that, they don't get to have any real estate in our mind. Don't forget your original design. But if you do, you have a Redeemer, Jesus Christ, and he's right there. Don't forget how you were formed, but if you do, he's still right there, perfectly loving you until you figure it out. I'll see you next week.